Interested in getting tickets to a concert or sporting event? Use SeatGeek and get $20 off on your next purchase with promo code OBERSPORTS. That's OBERSPORTS, OBERSPORTS.
What's going on, guys? Jacob Ober here. It's been a few days since the whole Aaron Rodgers thing happened on draft night. There's just so many rumors flying around and so many different reports going on. It was really hard to make sense of that entire situation. But now that I've had a few days to reflect and we have a bit more information on the matter, I just want to share my thoughts on the whole situation, specifically whether or not I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be the Packers quarterback next season. From what I understand, this whole thing kind of stems from the Packers not including Aaron Rodgers in franchise decisions. I've heard that the Packers taking Love without telling Rodgers was a huge, dagger in the relationship, as well as Aaron Rodgers publicly praising Jake Kumerow only for the Packers to release him the very next day. I think those are the two big ones that I heard about. I'm sure there are plenty more. And just the fact that they are not including him in franchise decisions has really got Aaron Rodgers upset. At first, I thought this was mainly the contract thing, but when I heard AJ Hawk talk about this yesterday, and AJ Hawk, by the way, was with Aaron Rodgers at the Kentucky Derby this past weekend, so he would know a lot about the matter. He knows, the rift between Rodgers and the Packers, and he said that it was mainly the fact that they're not including him in personnel decisions, franchise decisions, stuff like that. I can kind of understand both sides here. I understand the Packers not wanting to include Rodgers because at the end of the day, the front office is the front office, and the Packers organization is Rodgers is a player, and their players in the front office are separate. That's the way things have kind of always been in Green Bay. If you remember back to the Favre years, they didn't ask for Favre's input either, even though he wanted them to go get Randy Moss and stuff like that. And they kind of had a similar situation to what's going on now. There was a rift between Favre and the front office. Favre hated the front office. He hated the fact that they weren't including him in those decisions, and he threatened retirement a lot later on in his Packers career because of that. So I kind of understand where the Packers coming from, but I also understand a lot where Rodgers is coming from, because at the end of the day, you are the MVP of the league. You are one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game of football. You would think that they would at least tell you that they're possibly planning on picking your potential successor in the draft. I mean, I can just imagine Aaron Rodgers, putting myself in Aaron Rodgers' shoes, watching the draft at home in California on the couch thinking, man, I wonder what young wide receiver or good offensive lineman they're going to get for me in this draft in the first round, watching the first round. Then you see they trade up and you're like, oh man, we're going to get somebody good, and then they take a quarterback. Your potential successor, and you had no idea they were going to do it. I can totally understand where they're coming from. And if I'm being honest, even though I understand where the Packers are coming from too, I kind of side with Aaron Rodgers on this one, because at the end of the day, you're not just some regular player. You're Aaron Rodgers. You're one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game of football. You would think that they would at least tell you something like that, and they didn't. So I definitely understand his frustrations there. And I think both of these sides are kind of handling things, or at least did handle things rather poorly. I think Rodgers could be a bit more open about this with the media and tell us, at least something of what's going on. I mean, the fact that he's been silent for so long on this is kind of telling on what his opinion is. And the fact that he's saying he doesn't want to play for the franchise anymore, I think that's a bit too much. I mean, of course, I'm not in his position, so I don't know just how much the hurt or the pain, or like the dagger runs deep into this relationship here. But I also understand the fact that if the Packers organization is giving him the cold shoulder, I understand that you're not going to like that, and you're going to be extremely pissed off about that, especially with them drafting Love last year and not telling him. I mean, I think that's the biggest one. I think not telling him about Love, that was really like the biggest, blow in that relationship for me, in my opinion anyways. But here's why I think that this is all eventually going to be resolved and Aaron Rodgers is going to be the quarterback next year. I feel like if something was going to happen with Aaron Rodgers going to a different team, it would have happened already. Because on one side, the Packers, I feel like if the Packers really wanted to trade him, they would have done so on draft night. I mean, that's where they could have gotten the most value for Aaron Rodgers, if you think about it. I mean, they knew about this. They knew his feelings on this matter before the draft, well in advance before the draft. We only found out on draft night, but they knew about this well before because they said or the report said that many Packers or executives, coaches, players have flown out to meet with Aaron Rodgers regarding the matter. Brian Gutekunst himself, Matt LaFleur, I think David Bakhtiari went out there and met with him. So they knew about this beforehand, and I'm assuming that this was not just very recently, but I'm assuming this was probably back sometime in February. So that's a solid 2 months in advance they knew about this and had time to discuss their options and think about their options. And the fact that they did not trade Aaron Rodgers on draft night, when they could have gotten a pick in the top 10 for him. I mean, you look at the 49ers, they had the number 3 pick. The 49ers even called about Aaron Rodgers because they thought he might be available. They called that day when the report surfaced, and the Packers ended the conversation quickly. So that tells me that the Packers are not planning on trading Rodgers. If they would have wanted to trade Rodgers, they would have been actively shopping him on draft night. They would have been taking a lot of different calls. They would have been saying, hey, the MVP's available. Can you imagine how many times the phone would have rang that night? That tells me that Rodgers is not available right now. If they would have traded him, they would have traded him on draft night because they could have gotten a top 10 pick and a whole lot more for him. Now, if you trade Aaron Rodgers, you're getting less than that. You're getting less than a top 10 pick because whichever team Rodgers goes to is going to be picking in the 20s for the foreseeable future. You want a top 10 pick. You don't want multiple 20 or 20, 25 or higher pick, And you could have gotten so much more. You could have gotten that top 10 pick plus future first round picks. You could have gotten like 2 or 3 future first round picks on top of that and some really, really good young players. So if the Packers wanted to trade him, I think they would have done it on draft night. So that tells me that they are not planning on moving on. And then you look at Aaron Rodgers' side from here. He doesn't want to play for the franchise, but the only way out for him is a trade. So if they were to trade him, it would have already happened. So what's his next option here? He's not going to sit out. I can almost guarantee you he's not going to sit out. If he does, it would ruin his legacy and reputation. I mean, you can imagine how big that is. You'd be talking about the reigning MVP sitting out an entire season because he's unhappy with the way the organization is running things while he's still under contract. Can you imagine? I mean, Aaron Rodgers is someone who clearly cares about his legacy and his reputation a lot. Can you imagine the media firestorm around this if Aaron Rodgers sat out next year? Can you imagine the things they would say about him? They'd call him a quitter, a loser. They'd say that he thinks he's bigger than the team. They'd say so many bad things about him, and he'd be remembered a lot for this. He wouldn't just be remembered for being a great quarterback. He would be remembered as the reigning MVP that sat out the next season because he didn't like how the organization was running things, all the while he was still under contract. He's not doing that. I mean, I cannot see him doing that. So, I think the only logical conclusion here is that Aaron Rodgers plays at least one more year with the Green Bay Packers. After that, things might get a little bit trickier, but I still feel like Rodgers is the quarterback for next season. And that's why the Packers front office doubled down on that. They said, that night that Aaron Rodgers, Brian Gutekunst himself said that night that Aaron Rodgers was their quarterback for 2021 and beyond. They committed to him right then and there. If they trade him, it would make them look like straight up liars. They would be such a bad look for the front office, for the organization, for the franchise. It'd look so bad. There is no way that they would make themselves look that bad. I mean, they know that they have the leverage of not being able to, or not wanting to trade Aaron Rodgers here. And they know Rodgers can't do anything about it or else he's going to ruin his reputation and his legacy. They know that. People saying that Rodgers has all the cards here, but at the end of the day, the Packers still have Aaron Rodgers and they can do whatever they want with him. Or else he sits out and then he looks horrible for it. He looks like a bad leader, a bad teammate. Can you imagine what his teammates would think of him? These guys who have had his back for so long, if he sat out the next year, he's not doing it. So what's the only logical conclusion? He's going to play next year. After that, maybe the Packers decide, based on the results of next season, well, if we win the Super Bowl, okay, Rodgers, we'll give you your input. We'll give you your extension. We'll give you anything you want because you just went out and played like an MVP and won us a Super Bowl. So there you go. You get everything. We'll trade Love. We'll get rid of anyone you don't want. We'll get anyone you do want. And if they don't, or if at least they don't make it to the Super Bowl, then they trade him. They consider trading him to an up-and-coming AFC team with a top 10 pick that they can get maximum value for. Or they reach an agreement. They come together as adults. They say, okay, we'll work on an extension here. We'll try to get you some more input, but we also want you to know that we still think that, our word is the final say here, and while your input is, welcomed, at the end of the day, it's just one part of a larger puzzle here of everybody's decisions and everyone's thoughts and ideas. So I feel like either one of those two situations are going to happen, or they could even say, Rodgers, play the next 2 years out for us, and they could probably do that too. They could play the next 2 years out with Rodgers because that's the way that they built their team. They built their team around Rodgers, and then after that they can say, okay, Rodgers, we got these last 2 years with you. After that, then you can go wherever you want. We won't trade you. We won't, do anything like that with you. We'll just let you go to whatever team you want, and you can have whatever control you want there. Just play these last 2 years out for us, and after that, do what you want. I feel like that's a very strong possibility as well, because Aaron Rodgers clearly wants more control than he has right now, but, he doesn't have a lot of control when he's the guy under contract and the Packers are intent on not trading him. And like I said, if they wanted to trade him, why didn't they do it during the draft? Now, I could be totally wrong about all this. They could trade him tomorrow. Who knows? June 1st is the deadline. So, if they trade him within that time, I would hate it personally, because why? Why would you give into that? Why would you get less than what you could get for him? You're not going to get yourself a top 10 pick. And if the only way to get a top 10 pick is to trade 2 of your first round picks that you have, give up one of those first round picks when you could clearly get a first round pick plus, or a top 10 pick plus multiple first round picks after that, and some young good players for Aaron Rodgers. So to me, this whole situation, it seems like it has one end in sight, and that is that Aaron Rodgers plays at least one more season for the Packers, and after that, we talk about things. Because after next season, he's going to have 1 year left on his contract. And I'm really, now that I think about it, I'm really starting to lean more towards that, play the next 2 years out for Rodgers, because that's the way they built their team. They have all of these guys that they've gotten these past couple years under contract for the next 2 seasons. After that, go where you want, and we won't trade you. We won't, trade you somewhere you might not want to go. You can just be a free agent and you can go wherever you want. So I feel like that is the most likely scenario here. Then Jordan Love gets 2 more years under Aaron Rodgers, learning from him, learning the offense, and then the Packers are ready to enter a rebuild/retool phase in 2023, and that's that. But for Aaron Rodgers in the immediate future, I do not think the Packers are going to trade him. And I hope I'm right. I really hope I am right, because if the Packers trade him, and everything that they built would have just been for nothing, unless Jordan Love is a Hall of Famer right away, a guy who, keep in mind, never played for a Power 5 conference team in college and has never even played in an NFL preseason game. If Rodgers is traded this offseason, next year is going to be rough, and this team is not built to rebuild right now. They're built to win now. That's why they went out and they restructured all these guys and re-signed all these players from their past 2 years run. Why would they just get rid of the one key to all of it? They know he's not going to sit out, and he knows they're not going to trade him. So play the next year, play the next 2 years. But I cannot envision a scenario where he's not the Packers quarterback next year. And God, if I'm wrong, then we're screwed. Unless Jordan Love is the second coming of Christ. But anyways, guys, so let's really my thoughts on the matter. This is a really long video. It's like 15 minutes long, so I hope you guys watched the whole way through. But, I mean, this whole situation, you know, I was... It sucks that I have to talk about it like this, and it sucks that both of the sides can't come to an agreement, and I hope that they can in the next month, or else, you know, there's the possibility of Rodgers sitting out, which I cannot see Aaron Rodgers doing, or, you know, they trade him, but why would they not have traded him before? I mean, if they didn't trade him then they're taking a gigantic risk by trading him now for less and betting everything on Love. So, I mean, the Packers just aren't that organization to take a gigantic risk like that either. They've never been the team to go out there and just push all their cards in on one guy like that. I mean, I guess they have with Aaron Rodgers, but that was, you know, after they had gotten 3 more years out of Brett Favre, you know, and they had another chance at a Super Bowl in that run. Packers are going to have, I hope, at least 2 more years with Rodgers, at the very least 1 with Rodgers. And if they don't win the Super Bowl, they don't win the Super Bowl, and if they do, they do. And Rodgers gets his extension, whatever. But that's all I got to say, guys. Like I said, really, really sucks that we have to have this conversation, but let's just hope that everything works out all right, and Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback, and the Packers can go out and win a ring next year. So, in the meantime, guys, though, thanks for watching. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter at Albert Sports, and on Instagram using @Jacob_Ober. And I'll see you guys next time. Go Pack, go.